in 2025, Indian cinema was driven by brute force. The box office didn't just ring, it roared. Films like the Ranveer Singh led spy thriller Dhurandhar crossed the 1,000 crore mark worldwide. Rishabh Shetty's Kantara, Chapter 1 pulled in over 850 crore rupees, and Vicky Kaushal's historical epic Chhaava crossed 800 crore rupees globally. It was a year of spectacle, pan-Indian formulas, and staggering numbers. But while the headlines chased billions, something far more interesting was happening in Kerala. Malayalam cinema proved that the true measure of a film isn't its scale, but its conviction. And without competing on size, it delivered some of the most impactful and profitable films of the year. To understand what Malayalam cinema achieved, you have to look at the competition. 2025 was dominated by the blockbuster template, star power, inflated budgets, and nationwide marketing. Bollywood led the charge with Dhurandhar, which rode hype and reached to an estimated 1,140 crore rupees, Chhaava and Kantara. Chapter 1 followed, with similarly massive numbers. On the surface, everything looked healthy. But underneath, a fatigue was setting in. Several of these films earned big while receiving mixed reactions. Even star-heavy projects like War 2 raised questions about how long spectacle alone can sustain audience interest. Event films were becoming louder, but less memorable. That gap between attention and impact is where Malayalam cinema stepped in. All box office figures mentioned are industry estimates based on trade reports. While other industries focused on scale, Malayalam cinema focused on the script. In 2025, that long-standing philosophy turned into clear dominance. Writing first. Writers in Malayalam cinema are treated as core creative forces, not background contributors. This allows films to take risks, slow-burn thrillers, intimate dramas, unconventional structures, without needing to dilute ideas for mass appeal. Second, financial intelligence. Budgets are controlled, not constrained. This efficiency gives filmmakers creative freedom and dramatically improves return on investment. Rekha Chitram, for example, was made on an estimated 6 crore rupees and earned over 57 crore rupees worldwide, an ROI most big-budget films can only dream of. Third, a trusting audience. Kerala's audience is highly film literate. They reward originality over star obsession. If a film is good, they show up, regardless of scale. That trust creates a rare ecosystem where better writing is not a gamble, but a strategy. Let's now check some case studies of Malayalam cinema this year. First, Lokah, Chapter 1, Chandra. The biggest milestone of the year. Crossing 300 crore rupees, Lokah became a record breaker by reimagining the superhero genre through local folklore and emotional grounding. Big ambition, rooted storytelling. Second will be Thudarum, a reminder of what happens when a superstar submits to the story. Mohanlal's restrained human performance anchored a film that blended drama, tension, and social observation, earning both money and respect. And finally, the epic, Echo. Written by Bahul Ramesh, Echo trusted its audience completely. Non-linear, non-spoon-fed, and quietly confident, it showed how disciplined writing and structure can create lasting impact without spectacle. Now, this is my top 10 favorite movies of the year. This list isn't about consensus. It's about experience, rewatch value, and impact on me as a viewer. 10. Dude. A genuinely good film, but also a very sensitive one. Not everyone connected with it, and that's exactly why it works. It never tries to please everyone, and that honesty is what earns it a place on this list. 9. Bhababa. A theatrical masterpiece that many people simply won't like, and that's completely fine. This is Malayalam brain rot cinema at its peak. Chaotic, sharp, and unapologetically niche. 8. Kantara, a Legend, Chapter 1. The second half is excellent and elevates the film entirely. The first half is average, which is the only reason it sits here. While other mythological films leaned heavily on CGI battles, Kantara blended myth with modern filmmaking to tell a more resonant, idea driven story. Its strength was ambition, not spectacle. 7. Sue from So. A near perfect, character driven gem. The film shines through small, human moments and proves that you don't need a world ending plot. Sometimes one fascinating character is more than enough. 6. Pet Detective. Pure entertainment, packed with multiple subplots, about 25% intentional brain rot, and a vibe that occasionally reminded me of CID Musa. Fun, confident, and constantly engaging. 5. Thudarum. The surprise hit of the year. While most star vehicles relied on slow motion entries and noise, Thudarum stood out with tight narrative control and emotional weight. A thriller that genuinely made you think and feel. 4. Echo. A masterclass in risk taking. Echo challenges its audience with a non-linear structure and slow burn tension. Quiet, patient, and completely non-spoon-fed, it values atmosphere and writing over spectacle, and that's exactly its power. 3. Kantha. I loved everything about this film. The visuals, the performances, the mood, the storytelling. A complete cinematic experience that felt carefully crafted on every level. 2. Lokah Chapter 1, Chandra. The theatre experience of the year. A bold experiment that worked. Don Quixote pushed Mollywood into an entirely new space, proving that ambition and cultural identity can coexist at a blockbuster scale. 1. Padakkalam. The ultimate entertainer. I watched it nearly 10 times. Even though the dialogues were average, the film itself was an absolute banger. Massive rewatch value, pure energy, pure cinema. Mahavatar Narasimha stood out as a major win for Indian animation. Madarasi and Odum Kuthira, Chadum Kuthira kept the quality streak alive. L2. Empuran delivered on massive expectations, and Dominic and the Lady's Purse was a small, delightful film that deserved more attention. So, who really won Indian cinema in 2025? If you only look at gross numbers, spectacle wins. But if you look at profitability, influence, and long-term impact, Malayalam cinema stood far ahead. Audiences today don't just want scale, they want sincerity, and 2025 proved that loud films may grab attention, but honest films earn trust. 2025 proved that scale may buy attention, but only writing earns loyalty. That's my take. Do you agree? Which films defined your 2025, and which Malayalam movies do you think deserved more recognition? If you enjoyed this breakdown, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.